Hello, and welcome back to another episode here at the SteelerFury.com podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Kohlman. You know me as Smith is Smoking on the Message Boards, joined by the best hosts that money can buy, which we don't possess. You know them as Wil Masisak, Bradshaw have been on the board, and Accidental Zen on Twitter, or X. I'm sorry, I'm still calling it Twitter. I don't know why at this point. And then Korey Karbowsky. You can find him at Korey Karbowsky on X and on the message boards. Gentlemen, we walked out of New England with a win. I don't know the last time Pittsburgh crossed into New England territory and got a win, but we'll take it. So first off, I think we should give out some game balls. First one, Ramondre Stevenson. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Your fumbling problems still persist. Oh, sorry, Cam Hayward. That's who I meant. That's the guy causing the fumbles. But Ramondre, good one. Tell you what, and then for a limited showing, very happy with what I saw out of our first round pick in Derek Harmon. What else did you guys take away from this game, Korey? We'll start with you.
Oh, Isaac Seumalo. Just as wrong as my Chris Boswell call was like 2 years ago at this point, I feel like I've been pretty nails on with the Isaac Seumalo prediction that when we transitioned to wide zone, he would stop looking as good. And boy, imagine if we didn't have like a Mason McCormick where it was like a rookie who like stepped in to start on the other end, we would be in some real big trouble. Like we have very little depth. So we just kind of got to bite the bullet this year on it. But I mean, I feel like that's going to have to be a priority by the time the offseason comes, but you just got to work with it for now.
Yeah, Will. Any other takeaways from this game? I will say really quickly, since Korey touched on the offensive line, they did not give up a sack this past week. I will just say that, but stats can be misleading sometimes. Will, go for it.
They don't ask how; they just ask how many. So that's definitely one of those wins. They don't ask as long as you don't ask how too much. I mean, unfortunately, here we're in the business of how, so that's kind of a problem. But oh yeah, Cam Hayward, two use of Cam Hayward's right hand on two different plays of the game were really the difference. And that probably was going to be 14-point swing. So that's quite a significant difference in the game. I don't know. My takeaway was not that I'm going to look down upon a win. The win is a win, that kind of thing. But if your goal is to be a Super Bowl contender by the end of the year, I'm not sure we really progressed down that route. I did like what I saw from Derek Harmon in his limited snaps. And I thought DeMarvin Leal actually had some good snaps as well, as did the other edge rusher from Wisconsin, not named TJ Watt.
Herbig.
Yeah, Nate Herbig also, or is it Nate? I'm sorry, which Herbig is
Nick
which?
Herbig, Nick.
Nick, yeah, because we're about to have Nate back as well, I guess. But yeah, Nick Herbig, and generally whoever's been opposite TJ Watt has shown up so far this year and done a pretty good job. So that was something good. And TJ Watt was not completely invisible during the game. Made a couple of plays. His first sack of the season will go down in infamy because if you look at the tape, he's about a foot offside. He did have a couple of plays where he seemed to be lacking some effort in chasing down the ball, which is not something you like to see from your leader. I mean, even if that means he's tired and he's winded, then he should be off the field. You should be able to bring someone else in. But yes, he did create some havoc, big strip sack. So, we give him credit for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if New England doesn't turn the ball over 5 times, this game could have looked much rougher, without a doubt. I mean, 4 fumbles, that interception that Cam Hayward, helped with tip and make it a little more easier for, I think it was Brandon Eccles that got the interception. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, this game could have felt very different and we could have easily been talking about a loss. So I'm kind of with you guys. A win is a win, but there were not like a ton of great positives to come out of this because, like I said, the stats are a little deceiving. While Aaron Rodgers was not sacked, he was pressured quite a bit. And kudos to Aaron Rodgers for kind of doing the veteran savviness, being able to sidestep some stuff, get some balls off, even just get some balls out of bounds, that it took years for Ben to learn just to let the play die and live to fight another down. But
Did he
yeah,
ever learn?
well, sort
Not
of.
really. He started checking it down more.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Yeah.
James Conner, when he had James Conner, by the way, James Conner, season-ending knee injury this weekend. But when James Conner had that sort of knack for how to find sort of dead space for a dump off, and when he had that and saw how useful it was, I think he got to be into that mode. But yeah, very rarely gave up on the play.
You remember Najee had like 14 catches or some crazy thing for like 70 yards that one week?
Yeah,
yeah. Well, and then
open it.
yeah, and then Najee also going down with the season-ending injury for the Chargers too. It's a bad week to be an ex-Steelers running back.
Absolutely.
So, but well, let's not dwell too much on this past game. We definitely have some things to get to, but believe it or not, our team has to go across the pond, as they say, and to Ireland. The Steelers are giving up a home game this year to have a game in Dublin, Ireland. Hence the background Will is sporting right now, a nice little Irish pub, which sounds fantastic right now. Well, let's end this early. Let's go grab a pint, a smorgasbord of good food, and just
that'll work. Absolutely.
But yeah, so we get the Minnesota Vikings, which are kind of in an interesting phase right now as JJ McCarthy is still injured. Carson Wentz stepped in last week, felt pretty good. Well, let's kind of talk about some matchups here that we can kind of look forward to this week. Will, I'll let you start out on matchups this week.
Well, I just spoke a little bit about Nick Herbig, and his success rushing opposite TJ Watt. Big matchup for him this week with Christian Darrisaw. I think in general, the Steelers offense has been looking mostly to get rid of the football early because doesn't seem like they trust their offensive line to hold up long enough. But Minnesota, by contrast, has been making some plays in the intermediate area of the field that requires a little bit more offensive line protection. And even with Carson Wentz, who's not exactly the most mobile guy these days, someone like Herbig typically would feast in this sort of matchup with a not so mobile quarterback who's going to be on his spot in the backfield, but tough matchup for him. So it'd be interesting to see if he can maintain the level of pressures that he's been able to generate, but do it against high quality left tackle.
Yeah, that's a great one, Korey. Let's jump to you. What do you think is a good matchup to watch this week?
Oh, I'll kind of jump in on Will's real quick. Darrisaw's a freaking eraser.
Yeah.
Like that dude, heroes guys on his side. And so, like, I'll just jump to the other end. Actually, I'll do this. If TJ Hawkinson and then, they've got Josh Oliver and Nick Vanna, who cares about those guys? Let's just say this. If they decide, they're just going to say, okay, we're not letting TJ beat us. And we're gonna try and give 2 to Cam Hayward, and then just let the other dude beat, try and get 1-on-1, do some slides over. If we can't get pressure through TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, we are going to be in for a long, 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 long game because Carson Wentz is a vet. Carson Wentz knows how to throw against one high safeties that don't move, like one high coverages where they're static, right? If you just let Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison just rip you apart in one high, you're going to be our corners are good. They're not that good. This is probably a top 2 tandem in the NFL. And we're not doing anything to move TJ Watt. We're not doing anything to kind of show anything other than just strict one high. If we do not get pressure, like let's say they decide to chip, let's say that they're giving help. If we can't scheme ways to get pressures and they're just doing what they should, which is don't let our best guys beat them, then we're going to be in trouble defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go as far as to say almost the exact opposite. I think we're going to be in a lot of trouble offensively. Because the Vikings have a legitimate they absolutely embarrassed Cincinnati this past week. Like Cincinnati showed up for the opening kickoff, and that's about all they did all day long. It was kind of embarrassing how bad the offense was. And a lot of it is because the Vikings may not have a lot of like big marquee names on their defense, but Brian Flores has put together an amazing defense over there with guys that are not household names, but guys I remember. I remembered being a big fan of Jalen Redmond, this little known defensive lineman out of Oklahoma, who I thought, man, I think that kid might have a future. That kid has been an absolute stud through like the first few weeks here as a full-time starter. They're finding ways to use Andrew Van Ginkel, to the best of his ability.
Stud.
Another stud, another Wisconsin stud, ironically enough, who can rush the passer, who can fall back into coverage. Just guys all across the board.
Wait, hang on. You mentioned you start rattling off names on the defense. You missed the player who had like that. Remember that James Harrison game on Monday Night Football where he just like made every play and had all these like it was just like he just completely dominated the Ravens for a night, and people were saying that was like the most dominant performance in the history of Monday Night Football and maybe ever by a defender in a game.
Right.
Isaiah Rodgers, cornerback for Minnesota this week, just for the record, he had 2 forced fumbles, one of which he returned 67 yards for a touchdown. He had an interception return for a pick six that was 87 yards. He did all of that in the first half,
right.
In one half. Pro Football Focus, which we have ripped many times, but it's the first perfect score they have ever given for any player in any game since Pro Football Focus has started.
Wow.
So I'd say he had I would say that guy, if he's a no name to you, shouldn't be for very long, because if he continues to play like that, it'll.
And in all fairness to Isaiah Rodgers, I was working from the front 7 back, so he was definitely going to get mentioned. But
just making sure.
Yeah. But then there's a former defensive lineman that Pittsburgh Steelers fans are very familiar with. Javon Hargrave is playing very well, coming back from an injury that sidelined him all of 2024. They have this really good backup defensive lineman rookie from Georgia that I was just super high on in the pre-draft process. So we actually took him in our Steeler Fury mock draft. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins has actually played a good deal and has looked very impressive in the snaps he's gotten. And then honestly, the other guy that I was very high on, another undrafted kid. I know him because he tore my Hoosiers to death his senior year as a Cincinnati Bearcat. Ivan Pace Jr., a linebacker. That kid is just a tackling machine. He doesn't give a shit that he only weighs like 225 pounds. He hits you, you feel it. He doesn't get knocked back very often. So just a very good defense that Brian Flores has helped develop. So I just think we're going to have a lot of trouble moving the ball against this team. They are ferocious. They are physical. And they're the defenses that when they step up to match the physicality of the Steelers, if we're not ready for it, we will not stay in this game.
They have a bunch of guys on defense. Like, they've got a lot of role players in the starters. Not like role players in the sense of like they're not good, but role players they have a lot of proven guys who can go out and execute their role. And it's like, I'm genuinely curious, like just looking at this, it's like I wonder who, like, this doesn't look like a defense that a GM put together. This looks like a defense that a coach put together. Like Tavier Thomas, not known super well. He's nickel for the Texans. Texans kind of ran out of cap. He's a very solid player. Byron Murphy, former super high pick, super athlete, just solid corner. Harrison Smith still kicking. Joshua Metellus, he's been a great box safety for years, but he can go and cover a little outside. Van Ginkel, not a GM prototype, not a, oh yeah, we got to go get that guy. Same thing as Ivan Pace, Eric Wilson, older guy. Jonathan Greenard, not super flashy. Javon Hargrave, that's flashy. Jalen Redmond, that's a guy that they picked up. But then Jonathan Allen, you remember how that guy's pedigree coming out, and he's never done anything to prove that he's anything less. But then it's like, what's crazy is, look at all that. It's like, damn, that's like solid across the board. Then you've got guys who are just like either legit players or do some things really, really well. And they're twos. It's like Levi Drake Rodriguez is slick. Like that guy is slick from Texas A&M Commerce, Southland, 1 year Southland football player.
Yep.
Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, we mentioned him before. Just a ton of explosion. Like just Kobe King, we talked about him a little bit. Jeff Okuda on the bench. That guy's a former, number 9 overall pick?
Like fourth overall pick. Yeah. Yeah.
And Jay Ward, I'm a huge Jay Ward fan. Other fan, that's like that. Dallas Turner on a lot of teams would have been just okay. You're going to start. We picked you. I know Jonathan Greenard is a better player, so Jonathan Greenard is playing over him. It's just a lot of dudes where it's like they've got starters who are rock solid, and then like if you go and put Dallas Turner in, you know what he's going to give you. He's going to get in your chest. He's going to hands. You put Jay Ward, and you know you're getting a competent, versatile safety. You put Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, and you know you're going to get pressure in the back. It's like it feels like I almost want to look up how much this defense is in the cap rating because it's like we're paying all our money. It's like when you look at especially our backups compared to this, it's like okay, it's like we got like a DeMarvin Leal and Isaiah Loudermilk. It's like these guys are just a lot better. It feels like a coach put this team together, not a GM.
Listen, man, go to the advanced analytics EPA, right? The expected points added per play, right? The Vikings are not only number one this season, they've been number one for 2 years now. So they're very high in that statistic. The Steelers currently, with their super high priced, star laden defense on paper, are 23rd in EPA. So to give you an idea, like the difference in what the defense has put on the field for them, Brian Flores is like, I feel like it's a classic situation. You got a head coach in Kevin O'Connell who's he's like an offensive genius brand, right? And then, he brings in a defensive coordinator and he has low enough ego to be able to say, look, man, you're the defensive guy. Like, make it your own, take it and run with it and get those guys believing in you. And I give you carte blanche to do whatever you think you need to do. That formula, man, that's a good formula. That worked for the Rams in their Super Bowl run. That works for Andy Reid and the Kansas City run. To an extent that works in Philadelphia as well. So, what we're leading up to is on paper, it's a mismatch. And the thing is, adding Carson Wentz really helped them. They went from the most inept offense in the NFL without, with JJ McCarthy to a top 10 offense, at least for 1 week with Carson Wentz. So are you going to get that same kind of output from Carson Wentz this week? If you do, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Will? That's not where I thought you were taking that at all. You gave these great examples of coaches allowing their other coordinators to run the other side of the ball. And I thought, we're going to get a Mike Tomlin slam here because that's what we're so used to.
Well, that is the biggest criticism I think anybody has of him is he's unwilling to bring in or keep coordinators who would have authority, would have respect and authority and gravitas and let them just do their thing. He's micromanaging both sides of the ball right now. I think everybody who follows the team would agree with that.
Yeah.
I was about to say, Jeremy, he's not only letting it's not that he's not letting the other side of the ball do its own thing. He's not letting either side of the ball do its own thing.
That's even more true. And I hate to say it, but that's definitely more true.
Not that I want to see Arthur Smith with the fucking chains off. It might be the same thing because that was his hire, but it's still there. It's not a Tomlin.
Yeah. Well, let's not dwell too much on that, or else we might be here all evening tomorrow. But I mean, we give Brian Flores a lot of credit, but we got to give Kevin O'Connell credit too. He's built a very good offense here, and mainly I wanted to highlight the offensive line. In one offseason, he took 2 players from the Indianapolis Colts who have stepped in and played almost flawlessly in center Ryan Kelly and a kind of a younger, unproven guard in Will Fries, who had a great 5-game stretch last year for the Colts before he went down with an injury for the year. He's came in and played great. He's got 2 great tackles now that Darisaw finally returned to action last week. Like we've mentioned, he's a complete eraser. But Brian O'Neill at right tackle, and then to turn around and draft a guy like Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State to really complete that line. That is a complete line. Like you can't argue that line has holes at all.
I mean, they're
it's very
granted
well.
they're building an offense because they're not paying a quarterback. You know what I mean?
True.
Like have to have a little bit of luxury with that.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like if you don't have a quarterback, then you better have a stud offensive line and some great weapons. You didn't even mention, you literally not mentioned their wide receiving core, which
I was about to.
their number three wide receiver leads the league in separation and yards, per target or whatever. So
is that Naylor or Thielen?
Naylor, yeah.
Well, the
That's
scary
not
part
Thielen.
about that is the Jordan Addison suspension is now over. So Jordan Addison gets to join the group this week too.
Joy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love that.
All right. Here's a challenge. We got a little bit of a short show tonight. We're only going to go an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll throw this to you guys. What are the positives in this matchup for Pittsburgh?
Quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Aaron Rodgers.
Quarterback.
If Aaron Rodgers was playing on equal footing in the same system, so you put him on the Vikings right now.
Yeah,
they're a Super Bowl contender. They're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, he did want to go there.
Apparently not really. He said today that he just had some conversations. Catching up with Kevin O'Connell was never serious.
I can't. But
yeah, not that we believe that, but yeah, I'm saying you put him on that team right now, knowing what they now know about how JJ McCarthy started the season. That's a Super Bowl winner. You put him over there
and JJ McCarthy gets to learn behind Aaron Rodgers. Yeah,
and it kind of made too much sense. Maybe they couldn't afford it with all that money they're not spending on a quarterback. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Let Korey ranting.
The only thing I can I'm like looking, and I mean, you have a great kicker, so that's one. But then it's like quarterback, then maybe our tight ends, if they get on Eric Wilson, is more of he's kind of lost a half a step. So then we got enough guys to throw at him. But then it's also Andrew Van Ginkel is like lethal guarding tight ends. Like that's kind of his role. So even then you kind of like, kind of don't have that. And then like Ivan Pace is like built in a lab to, follow someone like Jaylen Warren around.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are like he's in a pod.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay. I mean, defensively,
what about
I like
coaching. Is there a coaching advantage? I'm sorry.
Defensively, I kind of like the like. I mean, on paper, our DB should be able to play, but then it's like if they got any help from their scheme, it would be a lot easier to bank on that. But it's like you don't know if they're going to be put in positions to succeed when you're going to have junior Justin Jefferson on a deep third. If you run a comeback, fuck you, right? Like it's hard.
I'll be satisfied if the Steelers don't give up another touchdown where they have the two deep guys cross and somebody forgets inconveniently to cover one of them as they go across the field, like that they've given up three or four times in the last 5 games they played. So yeah, that would be a progress in this sort of a game. I don't know. To me, I feel like really not necessarily an advantage that the Steelers have, but if they want to stay in this game, they've got to move Carson Wentz off of his spot, and that means blitzing. And I know it's dangerous because they tend to really want to play it safe and not blitz too many guys, but they have, and I think this is a positive because I'll make a backhanded compliment. If you're going to have Patrick Queen out there on passing downs, I'd much rather have him blitzing or spying the quarterback than I would have him in coverage. Because I mean, I felt like last week New England was just targeting Patrick Queen and the other linebackers over and over and over and over. That was the game plan. Obviously, they were just looking for whoever Queen was covering, I think, most of the time. But having him blitz, I think, is a slightly better option, and maybe even sending some safety or corner blitzes. I mean, it has the advantage of, like I said, Carson Wentz is a timing kind of quarterback, especially in this system, and they're probably not going to get a lot of action pass rushing, just lining up their four guys and letting their edges go against those two tackles. I think if they're going to have any success, it's by stunts, which they never do, and overpowering, or maybe getting one of the running backs to have to cover, to chip somebody that he can't get to. A little mesmerizing defense would be in order for this. And so that is something I think they have the tools to do. But will they be able to do that against this team? Because I feel like in order to do that, it helps to have a lead. It helps to not have to feel like, you play it safe, like you're not just in the mode of playing it safe and waiting for the other team to make mistakes.
Yep. No, you make all good points there. And to build off that, I want to go through the injury report real quick. Steelers had 6 veterans just resting as of Wednesday. But the intriguing part is this: both Joey Porter Jr. and Deshaun Elliott went through light practices. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of monitor what they do on Thursday and Friday, because those two could be trending towards actually playing this week. Who knows? Or at least, there's an outside chance. I don't know personally. Steelers have a week 5 bye, if I remember correctly. It's like
after this game.
It's like I'd be okay if we gave them an extra week off, if we're just hoping that they can possibly do it. I'd rather have them just get a whole nother week of rest and all that. As far as the Vikings go, there are some, and don't get me wrong, it's Wednesday, so we'll see what that really means. However, Javon Hargrave did not practice today with a chest injury, Donovan Jackson with a wrist, and Andrew Van Ginkel with a neck. So I don't know how severe.
Wait, Van Ginkel has a neck? I've never seen it.
But yeah, I mean, it's early, but it'd be interesting if one of those guys couldn't go for sure, even though I know we've went over their defense and how we've liked their depth and all of that. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how we play this upcoming week. Is there anything we feel like we missed regarding this matchup, guys, or do you think we basically covered it? Because
you were saying, you were saying, and it made me flip of the flip side. T.J. Hawkinson has 1,000% lost a step, and Jordan Mason doesn't scare anybody coming out the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he runs hard, so if you give him a dump and he has a bunch of space, then, you're going to get caught on that. But, in terms of an actual receiving threat, I will say our backers aren't going to have as tall of a task. Not like Hunter Henry's freaking, Dwight Clark or anything, but it should be an easier week in that regard.
Yeah, but they're not. Minnesota is not a team that's going to strictly attack the middle of the field with our linebackers, with running backs and tight ends, right? They're going to move their slot guy. Justin Jefferson's going to play in the slot and get matchups on early downs against linebackers. It's just, you can just count on it. They will manipulate through motion and formation, and that part of it. The Steelers never seem to adjust to that, especially early. I would imagine if I'm Minnesota, I'm only running the ball in this game as a change up to keep them honest. I might run a lot of play action, not running it, but I don't think I think they're looking at this matchup and thinking, man, we can attack this team.
Yeah. And Korey, you made a good point there about Jordan Mason. For those of you who don't know, Aaron Jones is on IR. That's a guy who definitely could have given our middle of the field guys some issues from a coverage standpoint. Let's face it, receiving backs have killed us in the past. It hasn't really changed. So no Aaron Jones. It does look like Cam Akers is going to be elevated for this week, and I don't think he's anything anyone fears by any means, but he's a decent talent. He's managed to stay in the league at least. But yeah, so it'll just be interesting to see how we match up with these guys. And again, my biggest thing is the physicality. Can Pittsburgh rise the physicality that I think we're going to see from Minnesota this week? If we can stay on par with that and keep Rodgers clean, I think it'll be a close game. But if not, it could very well run away like they did with Cincinnati this past week. We're not built to come from behind. We are built to stay in these low-scoring, one-score games where Mike Tomlin has a record that is just frankly ridiculous, that he's managed to win like 75% of one-score games in his entire career. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But I understand that we have a matchup across the bond, but there's plenty of action happening right here in the States this week. So let's get to some of our big games across America. Let's start out on the West Coast, where the Seattle Seahawks are traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals for an early lead in the NFC West. Arizona's at home. They are getting 1.5. So Seattle's favored by 1.5 points here. Corey, I will start with you.
Ooh, this is always a competitive division.
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks put it to us, and they didn't even have their two DBs. Do we know if they're supposed to be back? Because that would be kind of
I do not know off the top of my head whether Witherspoon and
yeah, I'm gonna assume they are. I feel like they were pretty close for our game.
mm-hmm.
I feel like the perfect person to spy someone like Kyler Murray is gonna be like Nick Uinwari, just because you're so rangy and you're kind of around the line of scrimmage. I could see the batted balls being an issue. He's just as fast. The Cardinals, I think they're going to feel that James Conner loss. I really do. I like Trey Benson, but I feel like they're going to feel that. So I'm going to go kind of a catch-up week for the Cardinals. I'm going to go like a 28-20 win for the Seahawks.
Okay, and I'm going to jump in really quick here, Will, because he mentioned that Witherspoon and Julian Love are set to play this week against the Cardinals. So you go ahead, Will. Now I'll let you
I would just say that in general, Arizona is what I would view as like a competitive team, meaning they're probably not going to get blown out a lot when Kyler Murray's playing quarterback, but he's also not necessarily going to like elevate them to big wins, frequently either. I feel like Seattle's a solid team, and they're building some momentum, and I no reason to think that they won't continue that in Arizona.
Yeah, maybe I should have gone first there because Will stole kind of a line I'm going to use. It always feels like the Murray-led Cardinals are going to be competitive and play good, but I don't ever think they're going to be good enough to beat the good to great teams. Like they will always make games tough, but when the chips are down, it doesn't ever feel like Murray and the Cardinals find a way to win ball games. It just I don't know what it is. I think Murray's has kind of hit his ceiling. You've seen what he's going to do. It's kind of I don't know what it is, but like if I had to if you just blank, if you went to me, who's going to win? Seattle. Wouldn't even think anything of it from a matchup perspective. Seattle's just the better team. Like Corey said, they beat us comfortably by 2 scores. I just think they're a very well-rounded team. Kind of echo what you said, Will. So I'll take Seattle here.
By the way, I think Arizona's low key a team that is primed to take a second round or a third round quarterback next year in the draft that has like a lot of upside, because you haven't wasted a first round pick necessarily on a guy like that, but you could see them upgrading quarterback if it hits.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the biggest revenge game that has been circled on this calendar year. Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers go back to Dallas to give a big FU to Jerry Jones and crew. Will, I'll start off with you. What are your thoughts on this one? Oh, and right now, Green Bay is favored by 7.
Yeah, I think Green Bay is going to get its frustrations from last week and take them out all over Dallas. And Micah Parsons, if he doesn't, I mean, maybe he can afford the fine of flipping off Jerry Jones on the field, but I imagine that there's going to be a Jerry Jones centric celebration for Micah at some point during the game, because I don't know. I just feel like Green Bay with a very uncharacteristically bad performance last week. They're going to bounce back from that. I think Dallas is much like Arizona. I don't know that they're often going to get blown out, but I don't think they really have the. They're playing hard, but I don't really think they have the horses this year.
Yeah, I mean they got embarrassed by the Bears last weekend, so I do think they'll.
They can't get embarrassed. I stand correct.
Yeah, I'll jump in here really quick since I was going to mention the Bears game. I think Dallas is a little embarrassed too by getting beat by a team that really hasn't won anything for like 20 years since they went to the Super Bowl against the Colts. Like that's just how bad the Bears have been for like the last 15 to 20 years. So I think Dallas. I like Dallas on the points here. I think a full 7 is a very interesting number this early, and it's an early number in the week. I'll throw that out there. These are the numbers as of Wednesday at MGM, favored by 7. So that line could move or whatnot. But a full 7, I kind of like Dallas to have a bounce back week and make this like a back and forth game. I don't think they win this, but I do like Dallas in the points, just because. Well, actually, a lot of that will depend on whether CeeDee Lamb plays. If CeeDee Lamb plays, take Dallas plus the 7. If they don't, hammer Green Bay in the other line. Because if Green Bay can just focus on Pickens and stopping the running game, I don't fear Dallas that much. But if they have their full complement of weapons, I like Dallas to at least cover in this. Korey, what are your thoughts?
I'm glad we'll have a differing opinion here because I think Dallas is horrible. Like they're a 62-yarder away from being a concrete 0-3.
Yeah.
They have pieces on offense, but the O-line is just not what it used to be. Defensively, I don't think they're very good at all. And I think Green Bay, like you said, I think Green Bay is primed for a bounce back week. I think this could be a bludgeoning. I'm going to call a 35-14 score. But the part that got me the most this week was when Jerry Jones said, yes, we would be willing to use the picks we acquired in the Green Bay Packers trade to potentially trade for a really good player. It's like, man, I wonder what really good player you could probably get for those picks. That's probably impossible to get using those picks now. But, it's what you do. It's what happens when an owner gets involved. That's the thing. It's if there were rational general manager decisions being made, this would have never happened. He would have been paid.
Yep, that's very true.
However, especially it's like he's young. That's the thing. He's young. The owner's gotta play with what he paid for. So good on Jerry.
Yep, good old Jerry. Let's keep it in the NFC. There's a matchup for first place happening down in the NFC South.
Good game.
Or sorry, not NFC South, excuse me. This is just a battle to NFC heavyweights at the moment. The Philadelphia Eagles are both the 3-0 Eagles are headed to the 3-0 Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is getting 3.5 points at home. Korey, I'll let you start off on this one.
I don't. The Eagles are good, and the Bucs are good, but maybe not 4-0 good. But I don't know. Something about it being a home game, and something about the Eagles feeling kind of due, even more so than the Bucs, I would say. I don't know. I kind of got a gut feeling with Tampa Bay on this one. There's not really any concrete reasoning. I don't think the Bucs are 4-0 good, but I don't really think the Eagles are either, which makes me kind of inclined to go with a home team that is playing a little more fired up, I think, than the Eagles are. I think it's kind of ho-hum for the Eagles, which it'll get you an L in the NFL. So I'm going to go with the Bucs to maybe close, maybe like a 21-8, 20 or 24-21 win or something like that. Maybe it's 3 points and they barely miss out on covering it, but I'll go with the Bucs in this one.
Okay, Will, what are your thoughts?
I'd like to take a moment to give a shout out to everybody who had the Rams plus 6.5 last week and is still alive, because and still owns a television that's functional. Because man, what are the odds when the Rams are lining up for a field goal that should theoretically give them a 2-score lead? What are the odds that a guy is going to not only block the field goal but return it for a touchdown to make the spread like that? What a moment in NFL betting history, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like I'm going to steal a page from Korey. Korey's like to, he's used this example before. Do I really see Tampa Bay as being a 4-0 team in the league? Not really. I don't have a good reason to pick against them. I think it's going to be a great game. And yeah, the Eagles probably are, for them, going through the motions a little bit right now, because it's early in the season and their objective is another Super Bowl, of course. But yeah, I just feel like if somebody said to me, which team will be 4-0, which team will be 3-1 after 4 games, I'm going to say that Tampa Bay probably fits in as a 3-1 team. So I'll take the Eagles to win the game. I don't know about did you say they are a favorite in this game?
Eagles are favored by 3.5.
Yeah.
So the Bucs would have covered anyways. I
don't know about them covering.
Okay.
I think it might be a 3-point game. So I'll take the Eagles, but not the cover.
All right. Kind of some interesting things happening this week because Mike Evans is expected to miss a few weeks here. It sounds like.
Yeah,
On the other hand, Chris Godwin is aiming to return this week, and it is very likely that he will make his season debut this week. However, I don't think that will be enough to stop the Philadelphia Eagles and crew. The Eagles just run the ball incredibly well. They don't take a lot of big time chances, just because they run the ball so much. And they finally got AJ Brown going last week, which, if they can get him and Devonta Smith going, they both scored last week. I think this team is really just starting to take off, especially in the passing game. And let's face it, I still really like Philadelphia's defense, even though they're not near as deep as they were last year. I think Jalen Carter could make some real havoc on the interior for the Tampa Bay's offensive line. So I have the Eagles winning and covering here, actually, is what I put down before we got started here. And then one last one, because I always love it when we pick two bottom dwellers to go off. So the
Owens, we're sure you're going to go with the two that isn't it Ravens Chiefs this week?
Oh shoot, you're right. There's another one. Sorry, I have to raise
I'll
out
let
of
you
my
have your bottom feeders, whatever.
I have to raise out of my chair to see that one or whatever. But let's go to this.
Is that the bottom feeders game?
It pretty much it could be. Somebody's going to be 1-3, right?
No, but the bottom feeders I was referencing are two AFC South teams that just don't know how to win one yet. Tennessee heads to Houston. Houston is favored by 7. I'll start off on this one. I am taking Tennessee in the points. Houston's offense just cannot get going, and it's just kind of dumbfounding how they can't move the ball consistently and put points up, as to where it feels like the Titans have steadily kept improving these last few weeks. And I'm hoping our boy Cam Ward can start, get his first NFL win. So I'm going to say the Titans steal one down in Houston. I'm taking the Titans to cover, but it won't surprise me if they go down there and beat Houston. So, Will, throw it to you.
Yeah, well, you stole my thunder. I think Tennessee's going to win this game. What they've been doing, Tennessee on offense, they've been making plays, like a lot of plays, but then they'll have a negative play, holding, a penalty, a sack, a fumble. So it's like they just need to eliminate about 20% of the negative plays, and they would actually be a very functional offense. Their defense is slowly, is held the fort well enough for them to keep them at least in the early parts of games. Against Houston, that's a team that, one of these teams is going to try to shake off the cobwebs on offense. But Houston's got problems, and these problems extend back to last year. It's not really all that new for them. So I just feel like, this is an opportunity. There's only about 2 or 3 opportunities on the Tennessee schedule where you'd have to think that they can feel it themselves that we have a real chance to win this game if we play well. So maybe they'll give it their best effort and steal one.
All right, Corey.
Yeah, I like Tennessee here. I've seen a lot of jokes about how CJ Stroud was moving like a 10-year vet after his rookie year and stuff like that. Boy, that CJ Stroud thing made me reconsider my whole quarterback evaluation process.
Yeah, wow.
But I don't know what the magic was that first year, but it's petered out a lot. For the Titans, I don't know. Feels like this is a win for them. It feels like it's like Will said. It's like when you watch them, they're doing good things. It feels like that egg's ready to crack, and that's kind of what everyone's waiting on. I feel like this might be the week for it. So I'll go Tennessee pretty easily.
I think the Tank Dell injury was a real turning point for them.
Yeah,
that was
straw
that sort of stirred things for them on offense. So they had the big possession receiver type, and they were able to parlay that into Tank Dell making some run and catch players, plays downfield for them even at his size. So at any rate, I'm not sure what exactly is going wrong there and what will fix it, but considering how terrific they looked before that, I feel like that was a real turning point.
All right, let's sneak in one more here very quickly, since we were going to potentially call these two bottom feeders, even though I wouldn't want to play either one of these two teams. The Ravens head to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Baltimore is favored by 2.5 going in. Corey, start with you, buddy.
I don't know. I feel like the Ravens are kind of accustomed to shitty starts at this point. This is like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Well, they
Same
were
with the
like 0 and
Chiefs. Same
4
with the
last year.
Chiefs. Yeah, sorry. Same with the
Yeah,
Chiefs.
yeah, you're not wrong. I This is a hard one because the Lions really boxed up the Ravens. It felt like even though they're got some plays here and there, but it felt like the Lions really put a number on the Ravens. The thing is, like when you take a loss like that, it kind of makes you go back to the drawing board. And I feel like the Chiefs almost would have preferred if the Lions didn't show a lot of tricks out there on film. Where now, okay, yeah, they get film of how to stop the Ravens, but the Ravens are damn sure going to know how to come out and beat what they just lost to. And so I also don't think the Chiefs have the dudes the Lions do on defense. I think you're really starting to see the effect of the QB contract. That it was only a matter of time. We had to wait out 3-4 years, but it's a matter of time until you really start to see the effect on the roster. It's just not the same Chiefs roster. So, they're still a good team. If I was picking with my gut, I kind of feel a Ravens or I feel a Chiefs win, but I don't know. I'm going with I think Baltimore's going to bounce back schematically, get to their roots, do what they do well, and just kind of churn one out on the Ravens here. I'm going to go a little bit of a barn burner. I'll go 35-28.
Sure. Will, what are your thoughts?
I think this is going to be a classic game. It'll be like these two when they played recently have always been like back and forth, especially at the end of the game. Like somebody scores late, and then the other team has the ball at the end of the game that can either score to win or they don't quite make it. Like that kind of a game. So more like definitely a one score game, late in the game. So I'm going to say this time it's Baltimore. I feel like also if I go by like who is more desperate, I feel like the Chiefs are a little less desperate because in the back of their minds, they know, hey, we're getting Rashee Rice. Like we're getting what's his name with the separated shoulder.
David Worthy.
Yeah, so we're going to get Worthy and Rice soon, and we're going to be better on offense, and we're just going to have to like slug it out these first few weeks until we get through that part of our schedule, and then things should get easier. The competition will get easier. Our team will get better. Whereas Baltimore doesn't really have as much, wiggle room in really that way. So I kind of feel like if it stops working for Baltimore, their formula, then they got real worries because their formula is what's carried them, right? So yeah, I have a feeling it's a bounce back game for Baltimore, and that they figure out somehow to make the final play. As long as they don't try to throw to Mark Andrews on a 2-point conversion late in the game, they should be fine.
All right. Well, I'm always glad we have a differencing of opinions on here because yeah, I know you said Xavier, they're going to see Xavier Worthy soon. That's right. He's on track to play this week. He logged a full practice today. So very good sign that he's going to be back to play. I think the Chiefs finally showed a little bit of an offense this past weekend in the efficiency aspect of the game that I'm slightly more confident with them right now as to where I don't know what it is with the Ravens, but these historically slow starts, like we've mentioned, I don't know what it's gonna take for them to like kick it into full gear and just execute. And I think the Chiefs' defensive line is actually going to win some matchups against Baltimore's offensive line. I think Baltimore's offensive line showed real struggles this past week against Detroit. If there's ever a team that looks at a previous week's tapes and finds a way to exploit stuff, it's Steve Spagnuolo, who's probably going to be go down as one of the greatest defensive coordinators in NFL history. I think he's going to see a lot of that, do a lot of similar matchups and stuff. So I think the Chiefs eke out a thriller. This will be one of those classic heavyweight bouts that, goes all 4 rounds, maybe an elusive fifth round, with how these teams have played in the past. So I like the Chiefs to win and cover here.
Not impossible.
It's like, oh, what? It's usually something the ball. We just got our fucking teeth kicked in. We're 1-2. Now we got the Chiefs.
So sorry, Korey. You're
I feel like that's 2 years where they
You are
either,
my friend. The temperature must have dropped to 50 degrees in Florida because Korey is frozen.
Yep. So was that one of Coach K's greatest takes ever? Because we definitely lost it over there for a second. You still
Hit
there,
it again, Korey? Come on, one time. Oh, you froze again. All right.
I'm good?
Nah, sorry, buddy. You're not coming in clean at the moment. I don't know what's going on.
Good now?
Yeah, try one more time, but we'll see.
So the thing with the Ravens, is it going well?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. It usually takes a game like that Lions game to wake them up. Like they're just rolling the ball out there, 1-2 or 1-1. It's like, okay, let's just go play. Boom, kicked in the teeth. Now you get an AFC potential AFC championship game. It's like, well, we better get up for this one. So either way, whether they win or lose this game, it's gonna get the team. They lose it, they're like, okay, now we really, really, really got to play. If they win, it's like, okay, well, we just beat the Chiefs. Now we should go beat everyone's ass. So I think that's they just kind of roll it out there until they got something where it's like, okay, we gotta play this game. And then, they're gonna end the season at 11 or 12 wins. And we're like, well, damn.
All right. Well, let's shift to our 5-star matchup that is across the pond this week in good old Jolly Ireland.
Wait, is it so over in the metric systems? Is it 5 translated into like a 7-star, 7.5-star matchup, or how's that?
Let's be very careful to hand out more stars.
It might go down.
Yeah, it might go down. Yeah. What conversion scale are we using?
It goes from like we're not going into meters, we're going into centimeters.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Right.
It's like a 0.8 star matchup.
Yeah. So Minnesota is getting 2.5 points going into this neutral site matchup, as it's not a game in Pittsburgh by any means. I'll start off on this one. I think this game is going to be eerily reminiscent of Seattle's game against Pittsburgh. I just kind of have this feeling where we're due for a letdown after a week where if it wasn't for our opponent committing 5 turnovers, we could have been looking at a very similar style scoring. And the headlines would not have been Aaron Rodgers catches and surpasses Brett Favre's touchdown record. As to what it could have been was, what were the Steelers thinking signing Aaron Rodgers to try to turn this team around? So I just think Minnesota's better coached. They're going to use that coaching. They're going to put us in bad situations. I've got Minnesota here. I'm going to say the final score is going to be like 30-17, very similar to that Seattle game earlier in the year. Korey, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I don't like this one either. Knowing how Will was talking, we're all probably going to pick L's, and then they're going to come out and win by like 10 points or something, because that's just typically what happens when we all pick against them. But I'm going to say matchup-wise, I can't pick the Steelers here. Their defense is legit across the board. I'm actually more scared of Carson Wentz than J.J. McCarthy. I'd feel really good if we were seeing J.J. McCarthy because, he's going to feel T.J. Watt's footsteps. He's going to feel like, okay, I can't really test these veteran corners. I grew up watching Jalen Ramsey, but this just doesn't feel good. I'm going to go with a 14-28 L, 2 touchdowns. It might look decent for a bit, but I don't know. I just don't have much faith in us pulling this out at the end.
All right, Will, take us home.
The score that came to me was 37-9 Minnesota. I'll just start with that. Here's my could there be a late touchdown to make it 37-16? Absolutely. Could there be a situation where both teams are tired, fly across the pond and don't really come out and play their best and have it be a much closer game than that? Absolutely. If you're, I would say stay away from that, betting Minnesota to win outright. But I guess to win by many points like that. But I just feel like the Steelers historically under Mike Tomlin, the times when they surprise you with like a really dominating win or beating a team that we don't think they should beat, it's generally emotion driven, and it's generally against an AFC rival team for them, right? So it's a team that they perceive a division opponent, somebody that they're fighting for a playoff spot with, and they're playing at home, they're playing in prime time. It's like this is all the kinds of things. Instead, they're playing an early start across the pond against a game that probably impacts them the least in terms of their season. And they're playing against a team that has superior talent and coaching. So that doesn't bode well for me. I can see this being, the travel games like this to Europe or to Mexico or to whatever favor, I think, younger players. I just think it's easier to change locations, to sit on an airplane for 6 hours, all that stuff that they'll do when you're younger. And the difference between being 25 and 40 is significant. It's not insignificant. So yeah, I think 27-9. Steelers might have the ball in Minnesota territory a little bit more than that would sound like, but they'll be trying to go for touchdowns rather than field goals because I think they're going to get behind early in this game. Just don't see the matchup being in their favor. Sorry to say, Steelers fans, that might be as bad a loss. Oh, the other factor working against them is backup quarterback for Minnesota. And the Steelers seem to have always backup quarterbacks, right? So put that all together, 37-9. I'm sorry, that might be the worst Steelers loss that I've predicted. So maybe you're right, Korey, and Jeremy, that the fact that we're all picking against them so severely might mean that they'll surprise us.
Well, so what we all predicted losses here to maybe channel some Rooney magic in the land of our
leprechaun's going to come save you. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, hopefully the Steelers eat their lucky charms this week and surprise us with a good old-fashioned win out in Ireland, Dublin in specific. So thank you all for watching another episode of the SteelerFury.com podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Kohlman, joined by Wil Masisak and Korey Karbowsky. Gentlemen, let's hope we're all wrong and I can talk about a win on the bye week. So,
Mike Tomlin's lucky sharp shamrocks. I love it.
If we're lucky, he won't last much longer, but let's not go down that. So here we go, Steelers. Hopefully we steal a win across the pond.
There you go, kids. See you next week.